Okay, so anybody who's talked to me recently knows that I'm a little infatuated with ChatGPT. I have been using it for a couple weeks very extensively. Recently, I spent a Sunday where I accidentally spent 8 to 9 hours down an information rabbit hole. And then I happened to be snowed in for 2 days on the road at a hotel. And so those 2 days I spent a lot of time with ChatGPT, and I learned a whole bunch of things about it. So one of the first things that occurred to me when I started using ChatGPT is like they separated the actual knowledge from the internet from the garbage of the internet. It's like hooking your brain up to pure information. Now, obviously, the internet's still going to have plenty of uses. You can go there to get a variety of different perspectives on an issue, alternative information.
The truth is out there, but so are lies.
You go there for your entertainment and your communication. It's going to change the way that people do any number of things, and I'm so excited. I'm ridiculously excited. One thing when you're asking ChatGPT some questions is you can ask it to compare and contrast things to help you better understand like the differences between one thing or another. And you can actually ask it based on your knowledge level. Now, I found out about a way you can ask it questions that brings it down to the basics. And that's by saying, for example, define socialism. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. When I found out that you could just break things down that simply, I was very excited, and then I went on a tangent asking it to explain things to me like a 5-year-old. And I will be getting to that stuff in another episode because that was very fun. I'm also going to be doing a video on whether or not you can trust AI, but today I'm just going to be sharing some of my experiences and discoveries. One of the things I began thinking about is whether or not you can trust AI, and then I was thinking about all the different ethical issues that was gonna come up from the use of AI, and that I'm gonna talk to you about on another occasion. I asked it to define some things, and I wanted to make sure it knew what it was talking about. Part of why I'm going to be sharing a lot of the text that is generated by ChatGPT over the course of these AI episodes is that so you can become more familiar with the way in which ChatGPT gives its information, and I'm sure this will also work for Bard. So I'll show you the text, and you should be able to quickly learn to identify it. Quite often, it tends to be a bland, very formalic, which when I get further into talking about the creative writing aspects and the different things that it can help you with in writing, I'll expand on that a bit. Because I wanted to start off making sure that ChatGPT knew its stuff, I asked it to define knowledge and explain to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Now, some of these answers, some of the questions I asked ChatGPT, I did ask that it explained it to me like that because I wanted to see the different options. Sometimes I would ask it to upgrade to a different age group for its explanations. Now, remember, this is being explained to me like I'm a 5-year-old. And if you continue to ask your chat AI to explain things like that to you and you forget, you might start thinking that it's being condescending to you. But I can assure you, one nice thing about getting your answers from the system is that there's nobody judging you. And so there is no tone per se with the answers that you get from text AI. Anyway, so I asked for a definition of knowledge and for it to be explained to me like a 5-year-old.
Knowledge is like a treasure chest filled with information that we learn and understand about the world around us. Imagine that you're going on a treasure hunt, and as you explore, you find new things and learn about them. For example, you might find a shiny rock and learn that it's called a gem and that it's valuable. Or you might see a bird and learn its name and what it likes to eat. All of these things that you learn and understand are called knowledge. It's like adding new treasures to your treasure chest, which makes you smarter and more knowledgeable about the world. And just like how a treasure chest can be filled with all sorts of different treasures, knowledge can come in many different forms, such as facts, ideas, skills, and experiences.
Now, the beginning of this sentence said knowledge was a chest filled with information. So obviously, I wanted a definition of information.
Let's say you want to build a big tower with blocks. Each block has a different color and shape, and by stacking them on top of each other, you can create something tall and impressive. In the same way, information is made up of smaller pieces of data, like numbers, words, or pictures. And by putting them together in the right way, you can create something useful, like a story, a map, or a recipe. For example, if you see a picture of a cat and someone tells you that it's called a cat, you've just received some information. And if you learn more about cats, like what they eat and how they behave, you're adding even more information to your knowledge. So just like how building a tower with blocks requires lots of different blocks, building knowledge requires lots of different pieces of information. And the more information you have, the more you can learn and understand about the world around you.
That was one that I felt was fairly basic. So then I asked it to upgrade my information and explain it to me like I'm 18. And this is what the explanation sounds like for an 18-year-old.
Information is a collection of data that is organized and structured in a way that makes it useful and meaningful to people. It can take many forms, such as words, numbers, images, and sounds. Information is often used to convey knowledge or facts about a particular subject or topic. For example, if you're researching a historical event, you might gather information from books, articles, and primary sources like letters or diaries. In today's digital age, information is everywhere, and it's constantly being created and shared. The internet has made it possible to access a vast amount of information from around the world, and social media platforms allow people to share information and ideas with each other in real time. But with so much information available, it's important to be able to discern what is reliable and accurate, and what is not. Being able to evaluate and analyze information is a crucial skill in today's information-rich society. In summary, information is the raw material that we use to create knowledge and understanding, and it's essential for making informed decisions and navigating the world around us.
The last part where it said to make things accurate and reliable prompted me to ask another question. Explain how to evaluate and analyze information. Explain like I'm 5.
When you see or hear information, it's important to think about whether it's true or not. This is called evaluating or analyzing the information. One way to do this is to ask yourself some questions, like, where did this information come from? Is the person or website that shared the information trustworthy? Does the information match up with what you already know? Does the information make sense? By asking yourself these questions, you can decide whether the information is likely to be true or false. It's also important to remember that not all information is created equal. Some sources of information are more reliable than others. For example, information from a teacher or a book is usually more reliable than information from a stranger on the internet. So if you're not sure whether something is true or not, it's always a good idea to check with someone you trust, like a teacher or a parent. They can help you figure out whether the information is accurate and help you learn how to evaluate and analyze information on your own in the future.
I wanted to know what some other ways I could analyze information I receive from ChatGPT, and it gave me the following information.
Here are some other ways to evaluate and analyze information. Check the sources. Look for information from reliable sources such as academic journals, books, and trusted websites. Be wary of information that comes from unknown or questionable sources. Check for bias. Evaluate whether the information is balanced or whether it has a particular agenda or bias. Sometimes, people or organizations may present information in a way that supports their own interests or beliefs. Look for evidence. Evaluate whether the information is supported by evidence. Look for facts, statistics, and other sources that support the information presented. Compare and contrast. Compare the information with other sources to see if it is consistent with what you already know. This can help you identify discrepancies or inconsistencies that may signal misinformation or bias. Use critical thinking, analyze the information, and think critically about it. Ask questions such as what evidence supports this claim, or what assumptions are being made. This can help you evaluate the information more objectively and make more informed decisions. By using these strategies to evaluate and analyze information, you can become a more informed and critical thinker and better equipped to navigate the world around you.
I asked for more steps. It gave me more steps. One of the things that I thought was interesting was to make sure that you consider the context. I asked it to expand on considering context.
Considering the context is an important step when evaluating and analyzing information. It means looking at the circumstances in which the information was presented to help you understand its meaning and significance. Context can include things like the time period, location, culture, and social norms of the people involved. Here are a few examples of how context can affect the meaning of information. Statistical data. Statistics can be misleading if they are presented without context. For example, a headline that reads crime rates have increased by 50% may seem alarming, but without the context of the time period or location, it may be difficult to interpret the significance of the data. Historical events. Historical events can be difficult to understand without context. For example, the causes and consequences of World War II cannot be fully understood without an understanding of the political, economic, and social conditions that led up to it. Cultural norms. Cultural norms can influence the meaning of information. For example, certain gestures or expressions may have different meanings in different cultures. What may be considered polite or respectful in one culture may be considered rude or offensive in another. Language. Language can also affect the meaning of information. For example, idioms and slang may be difficult to understand for non-native speakers or people from different regions.
And I'd wager that today it also includes different generations.
By considering the context in which information is presented, you can gain a deeper understanding of its meaning and significance. This can help you make more informed decisions and avoid misunderstandings.
Now, this is where I bring in my favorite thing, and it's the crap test. I'll put it up on the screen for a second. There'll be a link in the description to it. It's all over the internet. You can Google CRAPP test, and all sorts of information will come up. The one experience I had with Bard that made me not want to use Bard is that when I would ask it to cite its sources, it wouldn't cite any for me, even though it did tell me over and over that it could do it. When I would ask it to do it, it would not. Now, I do know that I have seen or heard some headlines or some talking points about sometimes it makes up sources, but I don't know anything about that currently. And I encourage you to do a Google search if you're curious about that, and I'll probably bring that subject up in a future episode once I learn more about how it's doing that. I've also heard that it's convincing people to commit suicide and convincing people to leave their partners, and I don't know what you people are asking it to get there, but if you could, if you know a personal story on something crazy that ChatGPT has or any other AI model has gotten you to think about, just put it in the description or in the comment section below. I'm super interested in hearing about it. There is also just a huge plethora of creative and productive uses for ChatGPT, and I will be rolling out a number of videos over the next few months about different ways, very specific different ways that you can use ChatGPT and with help with prompts and things like that. I'm going to say it again. I'm super excited about ChatGPT. Anybody who's hung out with me recently knows how obnoxious I've been about it. I've also detected some limitations while I was playing with ChatGPT, and I will be bringing that information to you. I just want you to be aware that there will be some things that it can't do for you. Another thing that I discovered in my first experiences with ChatGPT is that how you phrase a question definitely matters. The nice thing about ChatGPT is that you can just keep asking question after question after question because it's not a human and it's not getting annoyed with you. So my first impressions of ChatGPT is that it could be a game changer for a lot of people. If you're a curious person like I am, and I'll be honest, I have the curiosity of a child.
Too many questions.
Which makes me super obnoxious to hang out with for most people. It records everything you've ever asked it in different chat files, so you can go back to the information. There was one thing I'd want them to do would be to create a search feature within ChatGPT, because if you're like me or other people who are doing research on it and extensive testing with what it'll do, I've got a lot of files, let's just put it that way. So it would be great if they came out with a feature that you could search for information that you've already looked for, but we'll see. It's changing every day, and by the time this comes out, who knows, some of this information could be wrong. I've been watching it evolve over just the last few months, and it's going very fast. And I'm very excited about its potential for people who want to learn information and save time. Oh my gosh, the time saving, you guys. I can't wait to tell you about all the different things that you can do with this to save time. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. I'm nerding out over all of it. So anyway, I hope that this gave you some insight. I wanted to just to put this video down as like my first looks at ChatGPT and the first experiences. So this is a good base start. Come back for one of the next videos when I expand more on the different ways that you can get bad information and the different ways and that ChatGPT and AI is trustworthy and not trustworthy. Thank you for stopping by this video. Give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed. And as always, have a wonderful day. So the first thing that I'm super excited about when it comes to ChatGPT